A country run by banks will always be in debt. Healthcare run by big pharma will never cure disease. A state run by war will never know peace. And a nation run by media will never know the truth. I don't know where he sourced that, but the gentleman that passed it along is Pastor Aaron Noble from Patriot Church in Moses Lake, Washington. Fellow who I have yet to meet in real life, but we have chatted extensively, and we are definitely like minds and kindred spirits. History has a sense of humor, and we are in an odd point in history. A country run by banks will always be in debt. Which political team controlled the banks? Better yet, which ethnicity, if we want to dig a little bit deeper? Healthcare run by big pharma will never cure disease. Corporate politics were always dominated in the early days by the right wing, so called conservatives, Republicans in name only, however you want to put it. They were the ones in league, but that has also turned. A state run by war will never know peace. What team has been at the helm of the war machine? And that was not always the case. We can remember as recently as the 80s, it was primarily the right wing that was pushing for the military industrial complex. A nation run by media will never know the truth. Well, I think we know who has controlled the legacy media for as long as recent memory. But what an interesting time in history, that point in history, which I'm going to keep coming back to here, where all of these things are seemingly falling apart. The country will no longer be run by banks once the banks are handed accountability. That is, if we can keep the right team at the helm without getting their brains blown out in a remote Pennsylvania field for another few years. Healthcare run by big pharma. Well, now with RFK Jr. at the head of HHS, we are looking at the dismantling of that machine. A state run by war will never know peace. Not only are we seeing the end of war again, wars being undone, like we haven't seen since, that 1 4-year period from 2016 to 2020. But the one we definitely see coming apart is a nation run by media will never know the truth. Now that the nature of media itself has changed, as the left desperately tries to hold on to power, as every one of these factors are dismantled, what they need to control is language. First and foremost, control of languages. Control the stimulus, control the response. They have attempted to co-opt and seize control of that language, and even those attempts are failing. Today's opener is going to be a quote fest, boys and girls. Let me go ahead and warn you to saddle up. Here, the psychology of language, which in one way or another is imposed upon one because of factors beyond one's control, is very different from the psychology of a language which one accepts of one's free will. Why do you think there has been such emphasis on what amounts to newspeak? That words are forced into the lexicon where there is no desire, even by the left itself, trying to force Latinx onto its own voting electorate. They wanted no part of that. They needed voluntary acceptance of this new language. That was not happening, and being pushed down our throats at the point of social ostracism didn't work out for them either. The undoubted sign of a society well under control or in decline is that language has ceased to be a means of communication and has become instead a shield for those who master it. Ponder how that has played out through the death of the legacy media and the ascension to power of what amounts to a counter-revolution. They kept us under control through the misuse of language for as long as they could, but it ultimately failed. And you knew we weren't getting out of here without at least one Orwell quote. If thought corrupts language, language can also corrupt thought. A bad usage can spread by tradition and imitation, even among people who should and do know better. Now, even a allegedly educated population can fall victim to this. It's when you play games with words that have their roots in human emotion, words that draw an emotional response. And suddenly, rational thought, critical thought, goes right out the window. Here's one, for example. We all know about the importance of compromise. Compromise is how deals get done. Compromise is how we bridge the gap over that ideological difference. But as Albert Hubbard points out, it is always the weak man who urges compromise, never the strong man. This is absolutely true. Andrew Carnegie, one of the men that built America, an Elon Musk for his time, a billionaire, multimillionaire for his time. We can get into the currency discussion another day. He was revered as much as he was hated. He built America, but we're not here to study the history of Andrew Carnegie. We are here to exploit his quote to push a narrative. So let's continue, shall we? The morality of compromise sounds contradictory. Compromise is usually a sign of weakness or an admission of defeat. Strong men don't compromise, it is said, and principles should never be compromised. Truer words were seldom spoken. And this was a man who, negotiating from a position of strength, did not have to compromise. But with the left, compromise has always been a one-way street. And we, because of the emotional connection we have with the very word compromise and its implied definition, wanted to meet people halfway, and it has been used to our detriment. Example, as we speak today, elections going on in Germany. The AfD, Alternative for Deutschland, far-right party, took second place overall in the German elections. That means that a substantial portion of the German public supports those people and supports those policies. They came in second in a group of a half dozen. In fact, the graph breaks down like this. That is the AfD in second place in terms of number of parliamentary seats that they picked up. But this is how far compromise goes. You look at what is obviously indicated in the will of the people, with the AfD placing second only to the leadership. But the opposition party, the so-called conservatives, in terms of forming a coalition government, have outright stated that they have no intention of including the AfD whatsoever. They have ostracized them politically, and they will squeeze them out of any stroke, in spite of the number of German citizens who wish to see those policies imposed. This is how compromise is a one-way street, and this is why, now that we have seized a position of strength, that it is not a luxury we can afford to indulge in, nor should we. No, we are in a position now where we hold the power, and it must be flexed ruthlessly and mercilessly. And that includes everyone. What did we talk about up here? A society controlled by war will never know peace. A medical establishment controlled by big pharma will never actually cure anything. All of the things that we talked about in the very first frame of the opener. Well, now Elon Musk, that unelected billionaire who has been dispatched under 100% completely constitutional authority to flex those muscles and eliminate waste. He's going after all of the above. Big pharma, he's going after with the help of Kennedy over at HHS. They are targeting the IRS. They are targeting the Pentagon. There will be no compromise, nor should there be. But the howling will never cease. There's nothing to be gained by reaching across the aisle. There's nothing to be gained by attempts at appeasement. These people don't know when they're defeated. Again, this sums it up. Trying to explain why printing money is what caused the inflation to people who are angry about fluoride being removed from their drinking water. True story. Just Googled a response of the mainstream establishment media and grazers across the board to RFK Jr.'s suggestion that maybe this leading ingredient in most commercial rat poisons that actually erodes dental enamel and dulls the creative centers of the human brain might be a bad thing to have in a drinking water supply. We're being treated to their unraveling, and the more childish their policy positions are shown to be, the more childish their behavior in defense of them coincides with that. This is the Postmaster General, guy who stepped down, resigned from the U.S. Postal Service this week after 5 years of service, in which case he lost billions, plural, and billions with a B, plural, over the years. His volume was down 80%. The amount of mail they were processing was down 80%, and he hired on 190,000 employees to process that 80% less mail, and wound up $10 billion in the hole. And when approached with it, he literally, this is a photograph from the hearing in front of a congressional committee, this alleged grown-up in a position of authority covered his ears like a petulant 7-year-old on the playground. Nuh-uh, la, 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 I can't hear you, liar. This is what we've come to. The good news is, as they unravel, as the futility and absurdity of their entire outlook and program becomes obvious to even the most herdish of herd animal grazers, it falls apart and people start dropping off. They either remove themselves from the process whatsoever or jump on the other team's playing field. And the ratings of the legacy media reflect that. This lower primate was just let go from her DEI higher position at MSNBC. Why? Oh, because clearly we don't like black people and clearly we don't like women. Or maybe it had something to do with the fact that there have been nights where podcasts that I would have to look up myself have gotten more views than her readouts program. If you've spent any time, and I have, because you got to know where the opposition's positions are if you want to be able to argue your point strongly enough, I make it a point to do some watching every single week. I have noted Reed. She's always been a barely literate moron, but the ratings reflect that. And if the ratings are going to be how they decide who to let go, well, then this fella, this fella right here, he's probably got to be looking over his shoulder right about now. Because again, the only thing that sources like Reed and sources like that Maddow fellow have to go on is playing to emotion. They use words that you tie directly to emotion. And at the center of their so-called argument, their so-called policy position from 45 and 47, those presidential candidacies, the race and the ranting and things against Darth Cheeto, the Mango Menace, democracy. He is an existential threat to our democracy. Another one of those emotionally tied words. Democracy, first and foremost, above everything. We can't risk democracy, but let's think about it for a minute. As Judge Andrew Napolitano pointed it out, democracy is not freedom. Democracy, in its truest sense, and by definition, is two wolves and a lamb voting on what to eat for lunch. Noah Webster was kind enough to remind us that a pure democracy is generally a very bad government. It is often the most tyrannical government on earth, for a multitude is often rash and will not hear reason. After 4 years of Biden, I'm sure that sounds at least vaguely familiar. And say what you want about the source, people feel how they're going to feel about the dearly departed Rush Limbaugh. But he points this out quite correctly. America is not a democracy. I think if your kids understood that, and most people don't, we are a representative republic. We're not a direct democracy. And thank God for that. Because as Noah Webster pointed out, a multitude is often rash and will not hear reason. Example number one, this Ucrop cocaine elf that was paraded in front of us as a hero, a champion for democracy, someone we must get behind. They flew a Ukrainian flag inside the United States Capitol. That's right. The cackling Jezebel to the left, our former vice president, and our drunken, stumbling Jezebel to the right, the greatest rack you'll ever see on a Speaker of the House that can't pronounce her own name after a couple of drinks, holding the Ukrainian flag behind Volodymyr Zelensky. We were sold that we had to pump nearly $200 billion at this dwarf in the interest of protecting democracy. The emotional word and the emotional charge of said word, because that democracy proceeded to seize control over all media outlets. That democracy suspended elections. That democracy sent armed troops into Orthodox churches, arresting priests and parishioners and conscripting men right off the street to feed the meat grinder that was the Ukrainian front line, all in the interest of democracy. And at long last, now that the propaganda machine has moved on to something else, this brave warrior standing for the interests of the Ukrainian people, this man who would never back down, never settle his borders, basically signed off on a mineral deal with Trump, doing all but begging Putin to just stop beating his ass. We're going to go into that a little bit more. But again, it comes back to the emotional charge of the word. Democracy? Was that the kind of democracy we're going to be protecting? God forbid. But freedom, that's a root word we're dying for, but equality, that's one that they'll also try to sell us. All men are born equal and free is not nature's law in the literal sense. That's Mahatma Gandhi, a darling of the left if ever there was. The peaceniks can't shout his praises highly enough. But that's the truth, boys and girls, whether we choose to admit it or not. As Lawrence Reed further points out, free men are not equal, and equal men are not free. We've got to be very careful about the emotional charge of the words they try to manipulate us with and how we respond, because free men are not equal. Equal men are not free. Equality exists nowhere in nature, nor would nature's God postulate such a thing. In fact, equality itself is a false god. And let's not forget, as long as we're looking into that word that they seek to manipulate you with, equality is built on mass graves. We'll get into the analogy of the plow horse and the racehorse later on in the program, but this is the historical maxim that we have to remember here. Equality is built on mass graves. So we've covered democracy, we've covered equality, we've covered all of those things that they'll try to manipulate you with, but bringing it back to history and the time that we're in, the pivotal moment, the hinge on which we teeter right now. History is always written by the winners. When two cultures clash, the loser is obliterated, and the winner writes the history books, books which glorify their own cause and disparage the conquered foe. As Napoleon once said, what is history but a fable agreed upon? The last emotional manipulating phrase that they'll try to swing on you is the last one I'll cover here in the opener. And that is being on the right side of history. I have no intention of being on the right side of history. I have every intention of being the one writing it, as our culture will be the one that prevails. Our culture will be the one that conquers. Our culture will be the one to document the event and, God willing, erase the other side from the very face of history culturally. This is for those who walk in the faith and those who do not. You take that as far as you want or just a couple of steps forward. But I have no intention of raising someone else to a level of equality. I have no intention of compromise. I have no intention of reaching across the aisle. I fully plan to win because we have seen what the other side will offer if the alternative, God forbid, were to present itself. And I would rather be on the wrong side of this particular moment in history and be the one writing the book when it's all said and done than be in the back pages of that history book, relegated to a grave, a footnote, and a horrible, horrible faceless end. Ask any of the millions who died under communism, and they will likely tell you from beyond the grave, I think that Reverend guy's on to something here. Chin down, knuckles up. The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own, and no one else is on the planet. Not friends, not foes, not supporters, not detractors, not sponsors, and I cannot stress this enough, certainly not employers. That one is for the sake of you Docs Happy Antifa maggots out there. In any case, the aforementioned opinions have been adjudicated thought crime in all jurisdictions. Consider yourself warned. They are coming from the heart. They are guided by the mind, and they are guaranteed to stretch open that unwilling maw and choke you with fistful after fistful of the truth cock, clad in a latex glove, or maybe we'll even bareback it if you really want to force the issue. Welcome back, boys and girls. It's time once again for the Sunday sermon. Appreciate you guys showing up. Long-winded opener, man, and a hell of a lot of quotes, but it all ties in. We're going to be getting into it right here in a second. But right now, I need everybody in for the drum roll. Where you at, people? Hard charging out of the starting gate with our opening bumper music, as we always kick off the program, talking about Red Desert gut-stomping rock and roll band from the smoldering embers and crumbling ruins of the once great American city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The name of the band is Red Desert. The name of the track is Older, No Wiser. Every week I get a little bit older. Every week you guys get to decide if I've gotten any wiser. Some weeks I do better than others. I got some pretty high confidence going into this one. Going to be covering a few things. Thanks for your patience on the opener. Let's get to the roll call and find out which one of the usual suspects are on board. OG Reverend's Ranger and Prophet of Doom, Dennis Weimer, on board first. Beat Clem to the punch. That's unusual. We got Roman, of course, from Opium Tales, which means his lovely wife, Carrie, is waiting in the wings here somewhere. I'm sure we're going to find her further on down the line as we do the roll call. We got David on board as well. Good to see you out here early, brother. Glad you made it. The OG sinner sister herself, the divine Miss Emmy. Mwah. Good to see you, mama. Glad you made it out. Gonna be a pretty good program, man. Gotta be a pretty good program. I'm charged up, but I'm level-headed. A lot of emotional stuff to get into, but we're bringing the receipts as we always do. So we'll just keep the bumper music running and finish up the roll call. There, of course, is Mr. Clem. I am looking forward to seeing you in not very long, brother. It's gonna be. Can't get here soon enough, man. But I miss you. I miss all of my brothers. Hopefully all the guys can make it out for Broad Bar Gathering in March. I hope to see you all there. If anybody doesn't make it, they're going to be there with us in spirit. My brothers in Christ, my brothers in arms, my brothers And of course, we all have to thank that crazy Russian for putting this whole thing together. Who else we got on board here? Mr. Marquez. Well, hello, good sir. Nice of you to join us. Nice of you to join us. That's right, man. Sitting out on the back porch to Mark with some adult sodas, maybe, and a little bit of smokable consumables. I am coming up on 2 months smoke free, brother. I was this close just the other day, man. Heck of a lot. It had me stressed out. And this little, I won't get into it, man, but I was like, I'm looking and I'm craving, and I thought, nah, we're just going to let it ride. I made it. And I took Clem's advice: breathe, Bart, breathe. And I did. And life was good. There, of course, is my top supporter and number one fan, the lovely Miss Charlie. Nice to see her joining us, being on board. Another brother of mine, speaking of brought by, we've got Brother Jude, another brother of the Hook as well. Good to see you, man. The mighty, mighty Stone on board. Live to three, brother. Live to three. Appreciate it. And you know what's great, man, is this camera right here is still the same camera that you gifted me. How many years ago has it been? I was in Iowa, bro. So that's got to be like 4 years ago, man. This camera that you gifted me, the camera and microphone that you gifted me to boost the program, man. And we're still running it. Appreciate it. Hard to believe we've been doing this for 5 years, man. This is the 5th year we've been doing the sermon. I never thought. It's a beautiful thing. God is good. Speaking of God is good, brother in Christ, Turtle, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Glad you made it out. Me and you, brother. Me and you. Right there, man. Right there. God bless you and everything that you do, man. Always good to see you come out. Brothers in Christ, speaking of, Brother Bill Wade. Appreciate you more than you're ever going to know, man. It was really good speaking with you the other night, my friend. And glad that you're here always. Speaking of, we got more brothers in Christ. Brother George showing up when we got the kidney stone capital of the Upper Peninsula. Brother, I'm sorry that we got to keep Brother George in our prayers here, man. Those kidney stones are no joke. And they have just not been letting up on your brother. So prayers up, please, for Brother George, man. Get those kidneys healed, man. Somebody lay some hands on the man. Got to be some faith healers up there in the Upper Peninsula, man. That's Michigan, man. That's Northern Michigan. Got to be somebody. Brother Jake on board as well. My goodness, man. And there, finally, we find Carrie. I knew she was hiding out back there somewhere, man. Knew she was going to be hanging out. And Joey, the Sultan of Sarcasm, on board. Welcome, Mary. Welcome, Mary. Wait a minute, I missed it. Mary? Well, hello, Mary. Oh, there we go. All right, cool, man. Right on. Fantastic. Good to see all the new faces out here, and the old faces. My goodness, this is the longest roll call I think we've ever done right here. I'm gonna go ahead and let the bumper music fade out, man. We'll go ahead and roll that on out here and get the volume stabilized and whatnot. That, of course, Older No Wiser is the name of the track. Red Desert is the name of the band. Those guys have been really, really cool. They have let me use that song for bumper music now for, as I was saying, this is our 5th year, man. This is our 5th year. And so download some of their music, man. Throw them a little coin, buy a t-shirt, something. Really, I mean, kick-ass rock and roll band beyond just that track as our opener and our bumper music, man. Those guys, it's a really, really solid rock and roll band. So check them out. Plow Horse, Racehorse, don't forget us old mules. Well, I won't, man. I won't. I certainly don't forget the old mules, because we're the ones that actually are carrying the load, like we talked about the other night, man. It's the linemen. The linemen are the one who do the work. The quarterbacks are the ones who are the glory boys, and they get the credit. But that's definitely, definitely worth taking into consideration, us old mules, because we're still hanging on. And in fact, after I do the sponsor shout outs right now, I'm going to just jump in with that analogy because a lot of people have not heard the analogy of the plow horse and the racehorse as regards equality. Let's jump in, get the sponsor shout outs out of the way real quick. Of course, Brother Roman, one of my oldest and dearest friends who go all the way back to 1988. And my entire academic pursuits, my one semester at community college, and that's how we crossed paths. And the fact that we were both like headbanging metalheads and into guitar at the time. But Roman, good friend, longtime supporter of both myself and the program. And you can check out Roman Reba. First of all, check out opiumtales.com. That's where his work is held online. Beautiful watercolors. They have erotic pinups and portraits people. Beautiful watercolor work with some beautiful naked women, done tastefully, not pornographically, and it's always good to see those creative endeavors, man. And Roman is very good at what he does. He's got two books available on Amazon right now. One is Roman Freely, which is a collection of his work, and he's got From Dork to Pimp Daddy, which is basically his story, his origin story, for lack of a better word, where he tells us all about his journey from being Joe Tech Schlub to a guy that gets paid for the privilege of painting beautiful naked women. Good work if you can get it. Yeah, so worth checking out. Like I said, that's under Roman Riva on Amazon. And speaking of books on Amazon, you're going to want to check out Casey Tellison, one of my two Viking brothers, Casey and Dusty Tellison over at Nordic Smoke Barbecue. Check them out online. Dusty's got some really clever video one-offs on all the social media pages, whether it's his Instagram or his Facebook account, any of the kind of stuff, characters that he does like the little one-off character videos and stuff, and it's really, really funny stuff. But that belies the fact that the dude is a pit master when it comes to smoking some barbecue. And there are a couple of OG Reverends Rangers on here that have had the ability to sample that. They are the only legit barbecue in the Inland Northwest. Period. End of statement. Done. No discussion. No arguments. I will go to the wall for that. They're fantastic people, and they put out some fantastic barbecue. Nordic Smoke Barbecue, the only legit barbecue in the Inland Northwest. And, of course, Casey Tellison now has moved on from the smoke pit. Now he's past the bar. He's a practicing attorney in the Evergreen State up there in Washington, which God knows we need him. Oh, God knows we need him. And, we're going to be, and I'm keeping him on retainer. So worth looking at. But he's got a book out on Amazon as well from Latop Press out of Spokane, Washington. The name of his book is Freaks of a Feather. It is a combat memoir that started out as a suicide note. That is all I need to tell you. The man is a phenomenally gifted writer. It is an epic piece of literary work. You are going to want to check that out. That is, again, Freaks of a Feather for Casey Tellison and for Roman Freely, and From Dork to Pimp Daddy. All these books available on Amazon. So check them out. Download the book. Take care of the people who are taking care of me and taking care of this program, because they are the guys that make it work. Which is what, and as long as we're on that, everyone should say hi to Charlie and give her a thank you, because she's the one, she's the one really, really taking care of me. So we got to give her the proper attention and shout outs. So getting back to Bill was asking about it. Yeah, the old mules are the ones that carry the weight. But with regard to equality, the analogy on equality, and some of you are already familiar with the way that works. And a couple of people have asked, by the way, that was what happened to the finger there was a nasty little incident on the weight pile, but it's healing up pretty well. I'm going to wind up losing the nail, but I'm already missing part of the finger anyway, so it's not like anything's really going away. The plow horse and the racehorse, as regards equality, okay? You have a plow horse and you have a racehorse. They are two completely different creatures, right? Everybody says, well, all horses are equal. And if they're not equal, then they should be. They should be equal. Okay. Here's the thing about genetic predispositions. No matter how hard you train a plow horse, right? No matter what regimen you put a plow horse through, he is never going to be able to run as fast as a racehorse. It's never going to happen. Okay. No matter what you feed him, no matter how hard you run him, no matter what type of training regimen, no matter what cutting edge trainer and method you're working with, no matter how, he could, no matter what steroids you put him on, a plow horse is never going to run as fast as a racehorse. Okay. The only way to make them equal is to cripple the racehorse, right? Is to injure the leg or the hoof of that racehorse to where he won't be able to run as fast. And then they'll be equal. The inverse is also true. No matter how hard you train a racehorse, right? No matter what dragging and sled pull regimen you put him on, no matter what you feed him, no matter what steroids you put into his bloodstream, he is never, ever going to be able to pull as much as a plow horse, ever, no matter how hard you run him. Okay. So how would you go about making them equal? You've got to cripple the plow horse. You've got to make a cut along the back of one of his rear legs, or you've got to severely jack up his ankle, right? Equality, therefore, is always a race to the bottom, because you are never going to be able to elevate things past what their genetic limits are. Obviously, you can cheat a little bit, like clearly my genetic limits I have exceeded through the use of performance enhancing drugs. But for the sake of the argument that I'm presenting here, you can only go so far. Because of my genetics, I am never, there was never a shot at me being a starting player in the NBA. Okay. That was just not going to happen. And the fact that I and more short white people across the board aren't playing in the NBA is not because the NBA are systemically racist against white people. It's the fact that that isn't something where we generally, as a rule, excel. It's just not. Okay. And you never hear anybody screaming for that either. It's like, we're not equally representative. When do we get our, equality, equality, equality? Shut up, man. Just shut up. Equality is not only does it exist nowhere in nature, it is not something that we should ever desire beyond what the natural order has stipulated we are capable of. Right? No one should voluntarily be dragging someone down to keep them from achieving things. Okay? No one should ever hinder that. Even if that means that someone else is going to do better than someone else. You don't drag the person down who is doing better just for the sake of them being equal. Harrison Bergeron. You guys should probably Google that. Somebody want to, in fact, Roman, if you're there, I wasn't going to acknowledge that, but I kind of have to now. The proctologist of Doomfinger. Yeah, maybe. Harrison Bergeron. Roman, if you want to write that down and spell it out for them over here in the comments so they can look that up. Vonnegut was the guy that gave us that. And I run hot and cold on Vonnegut. Yeah, mixed feelings about it depending on the word. Yep, exactly, Roman, exactly. Harrison Bergeron. You want equality, right? You want equality, like equality in the deepest sense of the word. That's where we're headed. So in the same way, getting back to what we talked about in the opener, when you're talking about words that are emotionally charged, words that they will use to play to your emotions, to get you motivated by something without really thinking it all the way through to the end. That's another one where we're talking with regard to outcomes, right? Equality. No. Equality of opportunities, certainly. Equality of outcomes is never going to happen, nor is it something that we should strive for, because what it winds up doing is handicapping people who could excel beyond what they're already excelling at, right? There's absolutely no reason why that should go down. But yeah, the handicapper general, Harrison Bergeron. I mean, uh, you can. It's the same as compromise, right? Don't you feel bad? No, I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad for people like Elon. Elon is not a billionaire because I am not, right? Elon, I am not poor because Elon is rich. Okay. Uh, I am not I'm not playing for the NBA, not because the NBA are racist, but because I'm a short white guy. Okay. Sometimes it's just that simple. In fact, more often than not, it's just that simple. But one of the bullet points was not the role of DEI in all the air crashes that we're having. But since we're here, let's go ahead and knock that out. And I'm gonna put something here too, because I want for you guys to be able to. We're gonna run that at the bottom. Okay. Anybody who wants to kick down some coin or whatever, help out the program. That's all my financial information down at the bottom there, Venmo, my Cash App, and my other stuff. But that wasn't where I was going. Where I was going was this Doge.gov. Doge.gov, bang. They're bringing the receipts, people. They're bringing the receipts. It's wide open and it's transparent. We're going to do a deeper dive on that, but I wanted to go ahead and get the tag up. So if you guys had not been to the website yet, you can go ahead and look into that. DEI, okay, again, sidetracked here. We're not going to do a deep dive on it, but all the air crashes. And of course, they're blaming Doge. They're blaming Doge for everything. Everything that's going south right now is all because of Elon and his evil bastard budget cuts, and grandmas are dying of cancer in Bangladesh because because U.S. aid got cut, and whatever. Spare me, okay? All the receipts are there. We don't need to be spending our money in foreign countries like that in the first effing place. You can make the case whatever you want on an individual basis, and people will, and people do, and people are. But it's all, you want to go line item by line item, you're always going to find something that you're going to find objectionable, and good on you, right? The air traffic thing, all the air crashes. First of all, NTSB, it's available online. I want you to go and look. The narrative that they're trying to sell right now, of course, is it's all Trump's fault. Trump and Doge cut the budget for air traffic controllers, and because of that, we're having more air crashes than ever before. First of all, second point, not true. NTSB, it's online. You can look it up for yourself right now. Okay, the first 2 months, right? the first the first month, let's start up with January because we've only been in for a month. Okay, uh, way more air crashes, way more air crashes during Biden's first month in office after the inauguration. Which, of course, they will continue to blame. Yeah, well, those are Trump's fault too because it was a carryover. Oh, right, but this isn't a carryover from Biden and Trump. It's always the orange guy's fault. What is at the root of these air crashes? Whether it's air traffic controllers or whether it's pilots, it's one of the things that Doge is trying to get rid of, and that is DEI. The really high profile crash in Canada where the plane tipped and went ass, pardon the pun, went ass over tit, uh, and sliding sideways down the runway. Thankfully, nobody was killed. That was a regional carrier that works in conjunction with Delta Airlines, and their entire corporate philosophy is, and I'm quoting, unmanned flights. Unmanned because everyone on board who is from the pilot down to the person who cleans the lavatories, all women. That's all they hire is women. Take one guess what their safety record is in the industry. All right. Ever since the DEI initiatives went into place, when you stop making, particularly with air traffic, okay, when you stop making it about the most qualified pilots or the most qualified air traffic controllers, and instead hire almost exclusively on the basis of what color their skin is or who and how they, suddenly you wind up with these results. And you can't imagine why. Gee, we lowered the bar so we could hire all these people who wouldn't have ordinarily qualified to be in these positions, but we needed to do it for the sake of Diversity is our strength. If you hear that come out of the mouth of anyone that you were in a conversation with, know in your heart right off the bat, this is not a serious individual. This is a person who repeats the emotional talking points. Everything that we went over in the opener, where you say a word and the eyes glaze over, it's almost Manchurian Candidate. Raymond, why don't we pass the time by playing some solitaire? Raymond, diversity is our strength. Diversity is our strength. Raymond, America is a melting pot and has always been a nation of immigrants. Okay. You're not dealing with a serious human being, right? I'm not saying they're dumb. I'm saying that they are misled, maybe misled. Yeah, no, we'll leave it at that. ass over tea kettle. Yeah, there you go. There you go, Bill. There you go. What was that? Speaking of racehorses to track, handicapper's job is to create a dead heat. All horses finishing the race together. A winning horse will carry more weight than a maiden horse. Okay, and that works for the analogy as well. Thank you, Emmy. I appreciate you sharing that. Don't forget, guys, Harrison Bergeron. I want every one of y'all to Google that right now. Google it. It's a very short read, just a little snippet. Google it. When we're done with the program, I want you guys to go and look up Harrison Bergeron, and I want you to read that. A little short story masterpiece from Kurt Vonnegut. DEI is what's at the root of all the things that are going on right now with regard to the disasters in air traffic control. It's got nothing to do with Doge. It's got nothing to do with reductions in this, that, or the other thing. Got nothing to do with anything that they are doing to cut waste and inefficiency in government. Nothing. Of course, the narrative from the legacy media is it's all Trump's fault. This is all. But if you look, again, NTSB, it's right there, available online. Go look. The number of total air traffic incidents, right? First month of Biden's term versus first month of Trump's term. Okay? Go month by month by month, right? And month over month, you're going to find there were more during Biden. They just didn't talk about it. This is the thing with the emotionally charged stuff. A lot of times these people are not stupid. You just have to take into account that the only information source that they have, and again, don't feel sorry for them, because this is a choice that they're making. It's a decision that they're making on their own volition to only listen to these sources. But to take people like Joy Reid and that Maddow fella and just assume that they're unbiased and they're not coming with their own agendas and they're speaking objective truth, certain celebrity who will remain nameless, that's the thing. When you go tit for tat something, the thing is, yeah, well, you watch Fox News. No, I don't. Nor would any self-respecting conservative have anything to do with Fox News. Just because you choose to let Joy Reid and Rachel Maddow do your thinking for you, and you choose to outsource that, do not assume that the opinions that I have must be outsourced from someone else. Do not assume that someone more intelligent than you could come to a completely different conclusion looking at the same set of data because of the way it is presented. Okay. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's take a look at denial fatigue. Because that's what's setting in here with regard to the DEI, with regard to Doge and what they're doing to cut the government efficiency. This denial, everything, denial. And it's starting to collapse. After 4 years, right, we were sold, grazers in particular, they were sold that Biden was competent, that he was sharp as a tack, that he was actually the one making decisions for the regime. We were sold that vaccines were safe and effective. We were sold that that inflation was somehow not the fault of all this money that we were printing. And that inflation was going to be transitory, and that we're making too big a deal out of it, and Republicans pounce, and denial. All of the facts, right? The economy's doing horribly. Well, look at the new job numbers. And then without exception, throughout the entirety of those 4 years, 2 months down the road, they had to revise those numbers down substantially. By that point, everybody's forgotten about it. All they remember is the headline. The economy's doing great. You deplorables are just too stupid to see what a great leader Joe Biden is, because he's running things and the economy is fantastic. None of these things are true. The beauty of telling people truths, especially uncomfortable truths, is that you never have to double back. You never have to try to keep track of what was it that I said about this, because, okay, I said this about this. So if I come and admit this, then that means I got to admit A, B, and C. So maybe I better keep this quiet so we don't have to. How about just tell us what the damn numbers are? Could you do that? How about just tell us what we can already see with our own two eyes? That the guy who was at the helm for 4 years was in horrible late stage dementia. Everyone knew it. Everyone knew it. I would like to think that everyone knew it. Even most of the mainstream Democrats, they were aware of it. Okay. Um, but yes, they have offshored their thinking, right? No, Joe, you're absolutely right. They haven't just outsourced their thinking, they have offshored it, completely offshored it. Normal thinking people can look at what they see with their own eyes and acknowledge it. They have had to deny all of these things for so long that were patently obvious. Had to deny the fact that Joe had dementia, had to deny the fact that Ukraine was a place that we shouldn't have been involved to begin with, and a place that was not only was it a bloodbath and took an entire generation of Ukraine's youngest, best, and brightest young men, which is a tragedy. Definitely a tragedy, but that it was clear that it was a money laundering operation that was going on. It was clear that Biden, because of his son's ties to Burisma, was compromised over this entire issue. It was clear that the CIA backed everything from Maidan back in 2014 onward. It was clear to anyone who had done it that even prior to the Russian invasion, the mainstream press, even in rare moments of clarity and honesty, were having problems with Ukraine's Nazi problem because of the Azov battalion and the Tornado battalion, and the fact that Stepan Bandera was still a national hero over there. Yep, right. Thank you, George. Thank you. Brother wars. Brother wars. Yes. Slavs should not be fighting Slavs. Euros should not be fighting Euros. No more brother wars. And because of that, this is, if we want to get into the mysterious they, but that's a subject for another day. That is how they keep our blood. That is how they keep our cultures from finding their truest strengths. Brother wars. George, is beautiful the way you put that, and God bless you. Thank you for that. Huge percentage of the population, say this again, Joey, huge percentage of the population has become so credulous they don't have to keep track of their, yeah, thank you. That's true. They shift on the fly now. Oceania has always been at war with East Asia. East Asia has always been the enemy. Big Brother said so, name it. In any case, denial fatigue. That's something that I've coined with regard to mainstream liberals. They have gotten so exhausted having to keep track of all the lies that they're having to cover for, that Ukraine ever had a hope of winning this war, that Russia was on the one hand a paper tiger, a tempest in a teacup, incapable of taking helpless little Ukraine, and Putin has no real military strength, and he's a joke. And at the same time, if we don't give them $200 billion, Putin's going to sweep through Ukraine and take all of Western Europe. Too many lies to keep track of for too long. And what you have now is denial fatigue. You have groups of people on the left, true liberals in that sense, in the honest and historical sense. I have no problem with liberals. Okay, I, I mean, I married one. Okay, I don't have a problem with them or their philosophy because, as a general rule, true liberals, though they are severely misinformed and misguided, they truly, in their heart of hearts, want to make the world a better place. And legit believe that a lot of these policy concerns are the best way to do it. Okay, they can be in error. Okay, nothing wrong with that. But most of the true liberals now have just, the ones that weren't already shaken off by how far left the rest of the party had gone on every other front. Now they just can't sustain it anymore. They're having to keep track of too many lies over too long a period of time. And they're like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. They either withdraw from the political process completely, and who could blame them? Who could blame them? Okay, because on the one hand, you're working for a team that has completely lost its mind, okay, and can't sustain any of those policy decisions. And the other side would require you admitting that this bull in a china shop and his South African billionaire are actually on their way to doing a hell of a lot of good. Can't go that way either. So they either withdraw from the process or they do wind up reluctantly coming on over to the right. And that's cool. Why have I left Doge.gov up there? Because that plays a lot into the denial fatigue. Okay. Everything that they're coming out with, all of it. Oh yeah, well, you better get your fact check, bro, because in this one of their line items, it said it was like 50 million, and it wound up only being like 13 million. Oh wow, scrap the whole program then. Let's just continue business as usual. Yes, yes, they have made some mistakes, but across the board, it's all right there at Doge.gov. I have a friend of mine, John, who was a DJ. He was a DJ at State Line back when I was still involved in the strip club industry. He's also a voice actor. He was the voice of, I don't know if you have any gamers out there, but Serious Sam. I'm told it was like a hit for a minute back in the 90s. Serious Sam. My buddy John is the guy that voiced the character for Serious Sam. Anyway, uh, kindred spirit politically, he was in a discussion where a guy was like, it was just, did not, nothing. There's no proof of government waste. Doge hasn't found anything. Show me the proof. And John says, okay, go to Doge.gov, and it's right there. And the guy goes, dude, that's not showing me anything. It's like, dude, there's a case by case. And that, like, you can literally go case by case and then like search it. He asked the guy, he said, well, what more do you need? What more do you need? Keep in mind, this is the same side that is bristling because Elon Musk has access to your social security number. Okay. He said, well, what more do you need, man? I mean, how much more specific do you need? Do you want to go line by? He was like, yes, I want to see it line by line. I want to see every single individual and their social security number. There you go, man. There you go. This is what it is. There's no pleasing these people. The only thing they have left, as Joey, right? Thank you. Right? Thank you. Dangerous. Yes, it's a threat. It's what? It's a threat to what? It's a threat to democracy. Right? You're dealing with 7-year-olds. You're dealing with petulant 7-year-olds. Every objection that they have at this point, really, at the end of the day, boils down to nuh-uh, nuh-uh, la 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 la, uh-uh. And you think I'm being hyperbolic. You think I'm being hyperbolic. But this, let me find it, dude. This was absolutely hilarious. This was the Postmaster General. This was the Postmaster General. Let me tell you what immediately preceded this, because unlike everybody else, I actually watched the hearings. What preceded this gesture right here was a congressional representative calling him out and basically like, what you're giving yourself, what grade would you give yourself? And he legit with a straight face said, I would give myself an A. I would give myself an A. And Congressman comes back like, you give yourself an A. You are down 80% in volume. You hired 190,000 people despite processing 80% less mail. And partially as a result of that, you lost almost $10 billion last year. And you're going to give yourself an A? You can't do that. You're just like, well, I'm giving myself an A. And the guy's like, no, you can't give yourself a. He started taking the guy to task. And in the middle of being taken to task, he was like, I don't have to listen to this. It's a grown ass adult. These are the people. These, yeah, I'm pointing at the right. Yeah, I'm pointing them out. This direction over here. These are the people that they're defending. That they're defending. And the way that that spun up when Doge recommended cutting all of those jobs, they're putting over 100,000 people out of work. There's 100,000 people that should not have been hired in the first place. They should never have been hired in the first place. Get gone. Don't care. Am I crying over it? No, yeah, I'm crying over it. I'm crying over it at the same level that federal government employees cared about all the Keystone Pipeline guys. I'll tell you what, I'll tell them what they said to us. Learn to code. Learn to code. That's their solution to everything, right? All the factory workers that got put out of work, all the pipeline workers that got put out of work because of the government regulations, all of the industrial base that got shipped overseas because of greedy corporate heads that used to be enabled by Republicans, but now are enabled by Democrats on the same level. Only now they're not being held account to it because who does the legacy media work for? Yeah, that's how much sympathy I've got. That's how much sympathy I've got for these people. Bull in a china shop. This is exactly what we voted for. Go through with an axe, a chainsaw, if you will. What was it? They actually had Elon pose with a chainsaw, I think, at some point. But Doge.gov, man, Doge.gov, along with the bullet points, the denial fatigue. They can't say that it's a lie anymore, right? They can't say that it's a lie anymore, or they can't try to articulate or spin it as a lie. But they have to, for the sake of their team, continue to paint it as if it were a bad thing. And so you wind up with the most bizarre juxtapositions that we could have scarcely imagined not so very long ago. Defending the IRS, right? Again, challenging. Well, he's going after that, but he won't go after the IRS. He goes after the IRS, and they start defending the IRS. Now the same people who are supposedly against the military-industrial complex, supposedly against the war machine, yeah, but he doesn't have the balls to take on the Pentagon. Guess who he's going after now? Guess who he's going after now? Going after the freaking Pentagon. He's going after the freaking Pentagon. If they don't kill him, he's about to upend everything. And what you have are the left, which has always prided themselves on being the anti-establishment, raging against the machine. We're down against the man, defending the status quo. It is the most great. We have reached peak grazer with regard to this. And I'm not lamenting anything that anyone here isn't well aware of. But you have to understand, you are not dealing with sane, rational people anymore. They are petulant 7-year-olds on the playground, plugging their ears and going, la, 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 la. Nuh-uh. That's their actual reputation. Nuh-uh. Hey, Ukraine's getting their ass handed to them. The average age of the frontline soldier in Ukraine right now is over 40. Okay, you guys remember a song called 19, Paul Hardcastle back in the 80s. And then 19, right? Talking about the Vietnam vets. Open with a soundbite from an old CBS thing that in World War II, the average age of the combat soldier was 26. In Vietnam, it was 19. No, 19. Yeah, okay. All right. You guys remember the song. Maybe you don't. Um, but those are facts. Average age of the combat soldier in World War II was 26. In Vietnam, the average age of the combat soldier was 19, right? The average age of the Ukrainian frontline soldier right now is over 40. Over 40. You understand? That means that an entire generation of Ukraine's best, brightest, and youngest have been run through a buzzsaw meat grinder, shredded at the front lines. All over what? All over Hunter Biden stock options, all over the U.S. profiteering, all over any of these things that could have easily been avoided, all over us getting involved and fomenting a coup back in 2014 after Maidan, installing Poroshenko and that crew, and then topping that off with the Ukrop coke dwarf Zelensky, and selling that. When you start going after waste and fraud, other things as you turn those stones over are going to come out. One of the things they found with the U.S. aid thing, the USAID thing, one of the things they found was that they paid celebrities considerable amounts of money to go over to Ukraine and pose with Zelensky to sell the war. That was money that got paid out. You know, it's like Kamala with all her celebrity endorsements. No, they raised $2 billion for Kamala, and she threw that out to celebrities so they would come out and endorse her. And she still wound up 20 million in the hole. This was the president who was going to fix our budget. It's laughable. But unfortunately, the denial fatigue has taken such a toll on these people that they no longer even attempt to articulate anything that would be plausible. It winds up being nuh-uh. The things that I am hearing coming out, and Joy Reid cut loose mercifully. You don't like her because she's black. No, I don't like her because she's profoundly illiterate. I don't like her because she's abjectly uninformed. I don't like her because if she had her way, she would see people with my pale complexion put in gulags or killed. If we're really cutting nuts about it, who's racist versus that? I don't like her because she's a liar and she lies on behalf of an establishment that gets millions of people killed for no good reason. There's a perfectly acceptable reason. The fact that she's a bald lower primate is a secondary consideration. Okay. Did we get that out of the way? Everybody clear on that? Yeah, good. She got cut loose. She's done. The fallback plan for the denial fatigue crowd? See, Trump's getting left-wing journalists cut loose. No, dude, they're getting cut loose because they can't sustain ratings. They're getting cut loose because no one listens to liars anymore. And now that USAID has gone out of business, because what else did we find? When we're looking at all these things, USAID was putting money into Reuters to do hit pieces against Elon. USAID was putting money into left-wing websites to carry hit pieces about Trump. USAID funded the first impeachment efforts against Donald Trump. These are facts. But the denial fatigue crowd is, nuh-uh. I almost, right. Thank you. Thank you. Same people that justified Tucker and Megyn Kelly getting the axe. Totally. Totally. But like I've said before, Joey, right. Oh yeah. Thank you, George. Look at South Africa and the white farmers. There's something you need to talk about while we're looking at asylum. Okay. Because asylum claims, do you know who just opened up asylum for white South African farmers? Donald Trump. The denial fatigue crowd calls that proof of his racism. I call it acknowledging something that people like Joy Reid and Rachel Maddow paid zero attention to, and that is the Boer genocide. White South African farmers are being massacred. Do you understand that? Massacred. They storm onto the farms and they cut joker cuts on toddlers. These are facts. You can look them up. The denial fatigue crowd. They had nothing to offer for that. Everything to them is nuh-uh, racist, and Civil War. Now they're talking Civil War, which is hilarious to me. This crowd embracing Civil War. In any case, it's a real condition. They have nothing to articulate, approximating a policy position. So it turns into nuh-uh. It's frightening. Very, very frightening. But they are defending the government waste. The joke that I used to make was that if Trump cured cancer, the next day the left would be pro-cancer, and talking about how thoughtless Trump was for not taking the population problem into account. And he just exacerbated overpopulation worldwide by eliminating cancer deaths. It was a joke, but it wasn't. Anything that this regime is for, they are reflexively against. They can't articulate why. When they give you a talking point and you refute that talking point, they go into lockjaw and start screaming bigotry, and you wouldn't know what you're talking about, white guy, cis het white, yada, 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 yada. They've got nothing. What does this mean for the rest of us? It means we're winning. Okay? It means we're winning. It means the interests of the West are going to overcome. It means that all of the things that truly built this country, which is European cultural values, okay, which is Western civilization's cultural values and baselines, those social mores, and being anchored scripturally in Christianity and Catholicism. Miss me with the whole Judea bit. Miss me, please. Okay? Judeo-Christian, but stop. Christian values. Catholic values. Catholic values, I'll accept. Yes, Christians and, yes, Protestants and Catholics have their differences. What Catholics don't do is deny Christ as a false prophet and say that he is boiling in excrement for all eternity for his false prophecies. That's what Catholicism does not do, right? So when choosing who are going to be buddy pals, I'm going to take Catholics 10 times out of 10. I had not planned to go into South Africa, but yes, South Africa will be the new Zimbabwe. The new what, Roman? I'm sorry, that I haven't heard of this place. What is South Africa will be the new what? The new what? You meant Rhodesia, right? Yeah, you meant Rhodesia, because we don't use the Z word at my house. We don't use the Z word, okay? I know what you meant, brother. I know what you meant. But yeah, famine will happen in South Africa. It's already happening, Deacon Mark. It's already happening. Horrible things are going on over there. Johannesburg is now the carjacking and rape capital of the entire world. It was all predictable, right? We got to see what happened in Rhodesia after Mugabe and his communist insurgents came into power, and we all got behind the same thing. We did it all over again for South Africa. End apartheid, equality. It's a joke. But again, you can't look at the evidence of your own eyes. You can't look at statistical realities. You can't look at any of those things. It's not allowed. It's not polite. Don't care. I don't care. Sure that Cecil is smiling. I hope that he is. I would certainly hope that Cecil Rhodes is smiling upon me. I would certainly hope. Yeah. And now what's going on in that country that used to be that country that's on Rhodesian territory now? What happened over there? They're begging for the white farmers back because they can't manage their own affairs. In the same way that the ANC can't manage anything, they're grabbing land, they're redistributing it, they're giving it out, and it's turned into total chaos. And they come back later going, "Hey, dude, could you like help us out?" No, no, we can't. No, we can't. When we come back, we're gonna help. We're gonna help. We're gonna pull everything out of there, and we are gonna reestablish control because that is the damn natural order, and that is how it's gonna be. And you can say that makes me whatever you choose to say that's gonna make me. What was that? Let's not forget. COVID refrain. They wanted to bring that culture here. Now look at England. Yes, exactly, man. Exactly. Don't do your own research. It's a danger to democracy. Doge.gov, man, check it out. Denial fatigue. Hey, man, take a look because they are being transparent. They say, billionaires, man, he's not being transparent. They're absolutely being transparent. It's right there. Go look. Go look. Do do your own research. Don't do your own research. It's dangerous to democracy. No, I'm encouraging you. Please, by all means, go and do your own research. Do it, please. And what you're going to find is that you didn't need that Maddow guy or or Joy Reid to tell you what your baseline suspicions are about the federal government and mismanagement. They're actually defending government waste. Now that he's gotten to the Pentagon, now that he's gotten into the IRS, and he's going to start exposing that stuff, they're already defending the IRS. It is going to be glorious watching them defend the Pentagon and the war machine. We need to pay those contractors $600 for a toilet seat, or the entire economy will collapse. Elon's out of control. Nobody elected him. We need to build fighters, and we need to build fighters and replace stuff that's already working, man. We need to keep cranking out stupid R&D projects, man. We need it. It's essential. Don't engage. Okay? Realize that we are winning the culture war for the first time in decades, and crush them mercilessly. You'll hear everything in the world about compromise. You will hear everything in the world about reaching across the aisle. You will hear everything in the world about making allowances for other people, yada, yada, yada. You will hear it all. They had their chance. They failed. We have been shown what they are capable of and willing to do when we had the audacity in 2016 to vote in a way that we weren't instructed to vote. They stole an election in 2020, and they gave us 4 years of weaponizing a justice system against us in broad light of day. Should, God forbid, these people ever make it to the mantle of power again, what do you think they are going to be willing to do? We have been given a 4-year reprieve, a stay of execution, if you will. We need to use it to its greatest advantage and push for every inch of yardage that we can get out of it. Let justice be done, though the heavens fall. Crush them, bowl them over, push them to the side. We have the power we need to secure it, because in 4 years, one of two things is going to happen. In 4 years, either the programs that we have instituted are going to work, right? In fact, starting in 2 years, we're going to have that the programs that we are instituting are going to be starting to work. The left will continue to go further left and batshit crazy, at which point they will alienate everyone. They will alienate everyone. And at the end of that 4 years, we will not have to worry about them raising their communist little heads for another 20 years. Or the other possibility, we relent, we fail to seize the momentum, we fail to grab every single inch that we can over the course of this 4 years. We decide to compromise and meet them halfway and not push for everything that we have available to us right now. In which case, in 4 years, they will lament everything that wasn't done. The 7 people that still listen to legacy media will be convinced that the only way forward, they will find a way, is what I'm saying. We have 4 years to lock this down. If we don't do it, we will disappear from the freaking history books. They will go through and they will eliminate us. Now, I'm speaking, of course, strictly in terms of a civilian and secular timetable, okay? We ultimately win, regardless. That's why it's easy for me to negotiate from a position of strength. I don't care. Boss Man's got this. One way or the other, we crush you. One way or the other, your degeneracy will be not only cast from the face of history, but cast into a lake of fire. Okay? Every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess. I'm just throwing this out for the sake of a perfectly human, non-scriptural timetable. One way or the other, we win. We've been given this opportunity. We didn't deserve it. God knows we didn't deserve it. We allowed them to do, and we didn't take the lessons from it. That denial fatigue has set in, and they have nothing left. What does that say? Show no mercy. Right, George? No quarter. Show no mercy, because none would have been allowed to us. These people wanted to put you in camps. These people wanted to take your children from you because you had the audacity to adopt one of their own policy principles, my body, my choice. Oh, okay. Only my body, my choice for them meant I can murder an unborn child. My body, my choice meant for you is you don't get to forcibly put poison in my system. I thought we had that settled after Nuremberg, but apparently I was wrong. Everything old is new again. Cool. Which gets me to second bullet point. The nature of the biblical beast. Now, I was planning on taking this in one direction. I was planning on going onto a rant, but I think I'm going to save that for another day because nothing in Scripture says anything about the beast being a human. It said the number of the beast is human number. It doesn't say anything about the beast himself being human, right? And that would be a rant worth getting into about artificial intelligence and the nature of the biblical beast. But I want to take it a different way. Here. This is Revelation chapter 13. Okay? Chapter 13, verse 4. And they worshiped the dragon which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? There was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. Okay. And you know what? I'll go ahead and take it to verse 7. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. Now, later in the book of Revelation, he is bound, and I believe that we are at that point where he has been bound and can no longer deceive the nations. However, who is like the beast? Who is like unto the beast, and who can make war with him? What I'm seeing coming out of that now is another product of denial fatigue. They have denied everything for so long. This is another thing that's upsetting because, Doge and other government agencies, now that we have Kash Patel running the FBI, who's got access to the Epstein stuff and has already put a copy on Pam Bondi's desk. He's got access to the Epstein files. He's got access to the JFK stuff. He has the names. He can name the names. He is not an insider. He's not going to be protecting these deep state representatives. So if all this stuff about satanic pedophiles was all nonsense, if all the stuff about pedophiles was all nonsense, they really have nothing to worry about, do they? And yet, seem kind of worried. Wonder why. Who is like unto the beast and who is able to make war with him, I believe, is their final fallback. Only it's not going to work. The final fallback comes as a result of this. First, they deny everything. Again, product of denial fatigue. Oh my God. The Jews do not run Hollywood. Yeah, they run Hollywood. Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, but there aren't any pedos in Hollywood, dude. That's total QAnon conspiracy stuff. Until we find out about the pedos. Dude, yeah, okay, Epstein knew some Hollywood people, man. This whole thing about it being like a major network and people like Tom Hanks and dude, come on, Ellen DeGeneres, really, bro? Until the files get released. Yeah, all right, fine. Well, it might have been a couple of them, but it's not people that actually like run things, dude. Only now we already know that members of the royal family were involved in the pedophilia stuff. There are agents of the United States government that it's going to come out that were involved in the pedo stuff. And dude, no matter what you okay, maybe you don't walk in the faith, so you don't give a damn about the satanic end of it. I happen to. But even if it's not Luciferian, I think pedo probably should be enough to trip your trigger. I think that should be enough to get us over the, no matter whether you're with the faith or not, we can all agree that that's evil. Yeah, I mean, because that's the fallback, right? That's the fallback ultimately for the denial fatigue crowd. All right, dude, fine, but all right. So maybe they diddle kids, but it's not like they diddle kids and worship Satan. Oh, wow. That's so comforting. I feel in my heart of hearts that what's going to come out is going to be above and beyond anything that we could have expected. And that's when it'll get back to who is like unto the beast, because denial fatigue will ultimately give out. That's not true. Oh, well, that is. Okay, but that's not. Okay, that's true too. Yeah, but that's not it. Deny, 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 deny until everything's laid out on the table. And then you look at this big pile of stuff that's been laid out on the table, and then they fall back on, okay, it's all true, but I mean, look at him, dude. You can't fight that. And for too many people, including a whole lot of people that profess to be Christians in this day and age, that's true to them. That's true to them. Pre-tribulation rapture. Just going to dip into this really, really quick. There is nothing in the scripture to substantiate that. In fact, I think I can still pull that up and I think I can put that up on my production screen here. I think I'm going to be able to do that. Let me see what I can find here. It might still be up. There it is. Bang, bang, bang. So glad I could share. It's not quite big enough. You can't read that. Maybe you can zoom in on that and read it. But while I've got it on display right there, I'm going to go ahead and just go over the fundamental elements of it. Now, you know what? Let me just clear that out. I thought it was going to be bigger graphic. There's nothing in Scripture to sustain that. Nothing. Better than half the so-called Christians that you talk to believe that pre-tribulation rapture garbage. In fact, they would call me a blasphemer for bringing it up in the context that I'm bringing it up. What I'm talking about is they are under the impression, because most of them are weak, most of them are cowardly, and most of them, their profession of Christ goes about that far. Yeah, dude, I'm down with Jesus, bro. I'm like in church like every Sunday, bro. I'm down with Jesus. Once saved, always saved. They are under the impression that the carpenter is going to come and magic their ass out of here before things get really, really bad. They believe that in their heart of hearts. Nothing in Scripture to substantiate it. Nothing. But some pastor told them that God's going to call us up, bro. We're going to meet him in the air, and then we get to like sit on the clouds and like watch all these people that got left behind, dude. No, it's not going to happen. I am firmly of the opinion that Christians are going to go through at least part of the Great Tribulation. Firmly of that opinion. That's a hill that I am quite literally willing to die on. Because right there, hundreds of thousands of us are going to be beheaded for the sake of our beliefs. That's going to happen. That's going to happen. Okay? While we're pulling up stuff, we'll go ahead and do the 20. We just had the 10th anniversary of this. The 21 martyrs, the Coptic Christians, 10 years ago. 21 put on their knees. Jihad Johnny got the drop on them, kidnapped them. They're in Syria, put them on the beach. 21. And as they went down the line one by one, they asked the next man who had just seen his comrade's throat get cut, do you renounce Christ? No, I do not. And he watches that guy get his throat cut and beheaded. So they go to the next guy. Do you reject Christ? No, I do not. That guy gets his throat cut and gets beheaded. 21 people, they went down the line. How many people here in the United States of America do you really think are that devout in their belief? So when the denial fatigue becomes overwhelming and people start finally admitting what's been in front of us this entire time, all these Luciferian elements that have been in raw display all this time, and it finally comes out that no, you're not a conspiracy theorist. This is all pretty much in line with what the Scriptures have been telling you. How many people at that point will fall back and say, yeah, but who is like the beast, bro? Who can make war with him? I'll tell you who. I'll tell you who right here. I'll tell you who right here. Because I wear that Celtic cross and I wear that Crusader medallion around my neck every single day. And that is a hill that I am quite literally willing to die on. I pray that when they go to take off my head, that I don't use too many curse words on the way out. Last words that cross my lips better be the name of Jesus Christ. There are plenty of people out here who are willing to fight this stuff. And plenty of people out there that will call me some kind of radical for being willing to, plenty of people that would call me some sort of radical for defending Pete Hegseth and his Jerusalem cross tattoo. Might have something to do with the fact of the Dave's Volt that I'm wearing on my own sleeves. This is what you have to understand, particularly getting back to the word that we used at the very beginning of the opener, compromise. Compromise is a one-way street. They see us and our beliefs as something that must be put down, eliminated, suppressed, actively, or killed. That is how they see us. That is how they've always seen us. They colored it in nice language from time to time, but now they're telling us point blank. They coined the phrase Christian nationalism. We didn't do that. They coined the phrase Christian nationalism. They were the ones that first stepped up and said, well, I don't have a problem with Christians. It's Christian nationalists that I have a problem with, right? That was like their answer to saying, well, I don't have a problem with Islam, dude. It's radical Islam that I have a problem with. I'll say it point blank. I have a problem with Islam. I break no bread with Islam. There, I said it. They don't have the guts to say it, though. They've got to frame their little buzzwords, Christian nationalism. They got to put it in that little box, and that'll be fine. That'll be fine. But we're heading into the championship rounds here, people. And right now we've got that initiative. This is what you have to understand. They made the mistake of not seizing the opportunity completely like they could have. Because God was with us. They shut down the churches during COVID, right? Didn't shut down the strip clubs. Didn't shut down the pot dispensaries. Didn't shut down the liquor stores. Didn't shut down the porn shacks. Shut the churches down. That wasn't directed though, right? I still say we're not persecuted, but damn if we ain't targeted. We will get to experience persecution if we do not seize the initiative now and safeguard against that persecution. Safeguard against that persecution in advance. Let them know that we are not to be trifled with. Let them know that we are not that hippie Jesus, that we're that gathering a bundle of reeds, binding them with cord, and flipping tables in the market because you have turned my father's temple into a den of thieves, Jesus. That's the Jesus we're bringing, son. And if you don't have the stones to stand up for that, maybe you need to re-examine your faith, brother. Christ hung out with prostitutes. Yeah, he sure did. Prostitutes, tax collectors, all of them. He didn't make them comfortable in their sin, bro. Put down the bong for a second. He told them to renounce their iniquity, and when he bade them goodbye, he said, now go and what? Give me the 3 words, guys. Now go and what? Sin no more. So if you profess to be a Christian and you're out there making people comfortable in their sin, you need to check yourself, Sparky. You need to check yourself for damn sure. Right now, we have the initiative. Right now, we are taking the fight to the enemy, and they are still about to get into some levels of desperation you can't even imagine, brother. You can't even imagine. The only tool that the adversary has to lash out against God is to hurt his children. And when I say children, I mean that. You can't imagine the atrocities that they're about to unleash. And I'm not talking just about Jihad Johnny and Muhammad's minions. I'm talking about the whole freaking crowd. All of these degenerate movements that we have allowed to fester, whether it's the Antifa maggots or the murderous trans cults that are popping up all over the place. No, sorry, Bob. You haven't begun to see the things that they are about to be capable of. I mean, you would have thought cutting the genitalia off of prepubescent kids would have been enough, but no, they're going darker, son. They're going darker, and you better be prepared for that. God help you if you're not. I had a lot of stuff that I wanted to cover, but you know what, man? No, I'm just going to roll with it. I'm going to roll with it because I'm on that roll. Grand collapse of the Ukraine narrative. I can actually fold that in. It's all coming down, man. All of it right now. They have been sold, again, back to denial fatigue, which is at the root of all of this. Every festering, pus-dripping lie that is spewed from their maw into the public consciousness over the course of the last 4 years continues to fester and rot like an oozing sore, like necrotic tissue. festering inside our brains. Thankfully, most of you folks have natural immunity by virtue of the fact that you're all critical thinkers and better than half of you are followers of Christ. Congratulations. You come to the right place. The filth that these degenerates have freaking pushed and will continue to push. And it's about to get worse. All the things that we were sold that were conspiracy theories. Victoria Nuland knew about those biolabs in Ukraine the whole time she was trying to push the fact check that those weren't actual U.S. biolabs in Ukraine. Oh no, they're Ukrainian biolabs that are doing work at the direct behest of the United States government and being funded by the United States government, but they're not U.S. biolabs, so technically it's a fact check. They know. They know. You are talking about a level of sinister that most people, even people on the darker end, cannot even get their heads around. We're talking about scientists. Again, now that science has become their faith, that has become their religion, we are talking about scientists who deliberately make viruses more virulent. Hey man, we got a nice little respiratory infection here. Wouldn't it be cool if it were 10 times as lethal and airborne? Wouldn't that be groovy? Let's make that happen. In fact, let's take some money from USAID and their funding of the NIH through that Fauci fella who's beyond reproach. Oh, by the way, as long as we're talking about people who were never elected, this is what happens when you go turning over stones. What's done in the dark will be brought to the light. Say it with me. What's done in the dark will be brought to the light. And that light is shining. The cockroaches are starting to scatter, and they are in a level of desperation. Look what they did in 2020. What me uttering right now would have been a conspiracy theory that would have gotten me booted from social media back in 2020. Because it did come from a lab. It wasn't a leak. That was deliberately released. All of the media hysteria, all part of a coordinated effort. That funding for the NIH that ran through Dr. Fauci, the Chinese medical students and scientists that were in United States universities that were quietly whipped out under cover of darkness and pulled out of this. All of this information is available. But it gets worse. They don't think the way that you do. Do you understand me here? Is everybody tracking? They don't think in terms of sanctity of human life and the sovereignty of the individual. They don't think these are terms that are anathema to these people's existence. You are a lab rat. Do you understand? You are a lab rat. And if you oppose their program, you're worse than a lab rat. You're an enemy of the state. Retract. Enemy of the what state? Enemy of the what state? What state? Deep state. I see you, Johnny. I'll call you right after. I'll see you right after. A blasphemer, heretic, maybe, depending on who's judging you. Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go and thank you, Roman. Go and sin no more. Church is a hospital. Yes, sir. Church is a hospital for the spirit. A whole lot of broken individuals. But how many people have forgotten that part, Deacon Mark? How many people have forgotten that part? That it's for broken souls. Deep State didn't forget that part. Deep State didn't forget that part because they know at the end of the day you can only kill the flesh once. Ain't that the beauty of it? They can only kill the flesh once. And God bless you. God bless you. Pray for your enemies, and I'll pray for you on the way out, brother. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Sound familiar? May the Lord Jesus Christ be the last name that crosses my lips. You can only kill the flesh once. They have to destroy the root of it, which is in the spirit. They have to destroy the motivation. They have to crush you with that darkness, getting back to live the three. Stone, if you're still with me. They have to bury you in darkness. Do you understand? That's the fear. That's the fear that they bury you in. We went into this last week, how these people have this pathological need to be afraid of something. I'm outraged about the other side. I'm outraged about these people and what they do and what their nefarious ends are and all these other things. I'm outraged about it. I'm not afraid. I'm far from afraid, son. You're going to have to do a hell of a lot better than that. You're going to have to do a hell of a lot better than that to trigger any kind of fear factor coming on planet Bart, brother. How dark you want to take it? How dark you want to take it? These are people that engineer. These are people that profited off of human experimentation, not just with the stiff arm salute crowd in Germany, but with Unit 731 in Japan. Do you realize that the United States of America, the government, our government, that these taxes paid for, this deep state that has manifested out of this same group of degenerate psychopaths that brought Nazi war criminals to the United States so we could get our space program quicker than the Russians because our Nazis were better than their Nazis. It gets deeper, son. The same group of people dismissed every charge against Unit 731. Go ahead and Google that. Unit 731 dismissed all charges against every one of those doctors in exchange for the research. This is the level of degeneracy that you're capable of. And it gets so much worse. These are groups of people that will cut the genitals off a healthy prepubescent boy and tell you that it's health care. It's dark, but it's nothing to be afraid of. In the end, we win. And right now, we've got the initiative. What I'm admonishing you is that while we have the initiative, we had better take every bit of the ground that we can seize while we hold it. Do you understand? This is a rare opportunity that we did not deserve. And there is no time for, by the way, the people who want to gloat about it, we got time to gloat, son. We need to be out here fixing things. Take solace in every victory. Gloat at every victory. Don't gloat at every victory. Thank the boss man for every victory. Thank the boss man because he cleared it up for us to have the opportunity for that victory. Thank the carpenter for being scourged, tortured, and murdered on that cross to pay for our sins so we could carry the message forward. Thank him for setting the example. And pay no heed to these liars, these pus-dripping, lying maws on these people that will try to convince you that the proper Christian way to handle this is just to sit back and do nothing and pray for them. Guess again, Sparky. First time Christ rode into Jerusalem was on a mule. Why? Why? Because that was a symbol of peace. When he comes back around, he's gonna be riding on a horse. He's not coming back peaceful, bro. He's not coming back peaceful. And the people who are preaching that false doctrine are doing just as much a disservice to the potential elect as the people that are selling you the lie that the carpenter is going to magic your ass out of here before things are getting really bad. We're going to see it. We're seeing the opening salvos right now. And the only beauty of it is the fact that we were given this chance to get our feet planted, to get our bodies and our minds and our hearts, and more to the point, our souls back in shape, geared up and ready for the fight. Now is the time that we need to be spewing the truth to anybody close enough to hear it. Now is the time that we need to be witnessing to everyone and anyone that we can reach. Now is the time to step up and seize the initiative, to call evil evil to its face, to make no peace with evil, and let alone stand nothing approximating compromise with these people. There is no compromise. I will not meet someone halfway who would take my son, cut his cock off, and try to tell me it was for the benefit of his mental health. I got nothing to say to these people. I am not meeting someone halfway who is more than willing to take your children from you for you having the audacity to refuse a vaccine, recommending that you be locked up in camps. I have no bread to break with people who will let a porn shack stay open but shut down a church because for some reason, whatever, that particular respiratory bug is like more infectious if you breathe it in preaching the gospel. Apparently, there's something in a glory hole that neutralizes that stuff, I guess. Too graphic? Good. Saddle up. It gets worse. People, we need to look at this. We need to look at this not as a burden to carry, but a beautiful responsibility and a gift that we have been given in the last days to be able to reach hearts and minds, to be able to open minds, to be able to move hearts, to touch souls, to pull scales from eyes. Y'all tracking? For what? For our own amusement? For our own aggrandizement? No, for the sake of the kingdom. For the sake of a Nazarene carpenter that got scourged, tortured, and murdered to pay the price for this irredeemable wretch. Bart out here thumping his chest thinking he's something special. Bro, you couldn't get it more wrong. I am far from special, brother. The only thing that makes me special is a gift that I was given by the carpenter, and that's it. He gave me the gift for oratory and gave me the gift of physicality, and that is it. That is the only thing that separates me, and I don't revel in that. That is all glory is due to the carpenter. All glory is due to the boss man, the carpenter, and the spirit for that. I hold nothing. There is nothing that makes me special. In fact, I'm probably worse than a lot of the people that I'm knocking down and condemning when I look on balance at the things that I've done in the darkness that I've carried and the weight on my back. All the while patting myself on the shoulder, telling me that, telling myself I was doing the right thing, rationalizing this, rationalizing that. Ain't nothing special about me. The only thing I've got that makes me special is a gift that the carpenter gave me, and that is to deliver this word, to bring that to you and say, look, bro, here's the signs. You take it or leave it. I'm going to put this out in front of you. And let you know, in no uncertain terms, you don't have to come around to my way of thinking. You certainly don't have to come around to the faith. Ain't nothing mandatory about that. But if you are entertaining the idea that the things that are going on right now is that you're seeing a clear delineation between things that you can identify as good and things that you can identify as evil, that you may want to take a look at it, because tick tock, end time's coming. And brother, when you see that pale horse, it's going to be far too late for you. I'm planning on getting off on this rant right now, but we're going to get to see who was what one Nikola Tesla was it Tesla or Lovecraft that said you will live to see man-made horrors beyond your comprehension? I think it was Tesla that actually said it. Lovecraft just wrote about it. In any case, you ain't got to worry about it. You're going to get to live it. You're going to get to live it. We are in what is easily, there's no place that I would rather be. No time that I would rather be. We live in the pinnacle of industrialized Western nation, on the brink of teetering into the abyss that managed to save itself in the 11th hour, and we are witnessing a cultural and spiritual awakening, the likes of which hasn't been seen on this planet in centuries. And you're going to tell me you're bored? Get your face in some scripture, boy. Get your face in some scripture. Let it clear up a few misconceptions for you. And then realize you are lucky and blessed to be alive in such a time as this. And if you are walking in the faith, or if you are teetering on the precipice of taking that leap and accepting Christ into your heart, you have one of the greatest opportunities that any human being walking the face of the planet right now could have. It ain't gonna make you a celebrity. It's not gonna earn you money. It's not gonna give you the riches and the wealth and the girls and all the. These are matters of the flesh, man. What it's going to do is turn on your mind and your heart and your spirit, and you are going to realize the enormity. You are going to realize the enormity of a creator that has a divine plan so complex that it defies even contemplation. Who put all this together and somehow still had enough love in his heart for you to give you a small role to play in it. You need to figure out what that burden is. You need to lay down that bag of bricks you've been carrying for the adversary. Lay down that bag of bricks that you've been carrying around for powers beyond your control that have laid this guilt on you, or laid this evil on you, or convinced you that this pain that you were suffering, it convinced you that it was pleasure. You have the ability right now, in this moment, in this nation, in this place, right now, looking at me right now, you've got the ability to lay down that bag of bricks, pick up your own cross, find a purpose for your life, carry it forward, and do some good work for the kingdom. You ain't got a lot of time, but you got a chance to be a part of it. You've got the opportunity not to stack up street cred, not to stack up the adoration of a bunch of individuals who I wouldn't give a bucket of warm piss for in the first place because they've got no comprehension. You've got the opportunity to take this moment right now, take a good look into the carpenter's eyes and say, thank you. Thank you for the sacrifice you made for me. I'm going to give my heart to you. So when you stand before the boss man on that day, and Father, Son, and Spirit are going through the book of life, you get to walk away with, well done, my good and faithful servant. Because I promise you, son, at that moment, depart from me, I never knew you, is going to be the coldest words you are ever going to hear for the depth of eternity. And I mean that in every sense of the word. Realize where you're at. Realize the gravity of what we are facing collectively. The very fate of Western civilization hides in the balance right now. Hangs in the balance right now. Like a sword of Damocles over our head. We've got the threat of that being brought down. And it could all turn just like that. Being right with earthly powers doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. I'm thankful that I've taken the time to work on this thing or work on that thing. But that means nothing. Means nothing. If you ain't right with the Nazarene, means nothing. So I urge you to take a look. Realize that the fight isn't coming. It's already here. And then you are left with something that isn't even a choice. You are left with acknowledging that the fight is not coming, that it's here. And that you got to pick a side right here, right now. No nuance, no subtlety, no what ifs, no how about this, no how about I take into account and adjusting for, none of this. You have to pick it. You have to put your feet on the ground, chin down, knuckles up, and figure out what you are willing to fight for. Because it's something that you may be called to die for. This is not hyperbole. This is not hyperbole, boys and girls. This is what's in the Word. I don't need to expound. I don't need to flourish. I don't need any of that. I'm telling you what's in the Word. And I hope that all of you, if you haven't already, will take the time to get right. I understand there's still a ton of pressure out there. I understand you may even be in with family members that would disown you. You may have roommates that would boot you out of your place if they found out that you were following Christ. I get it. Message me on the call. If the enemy can encourage children to keep secrets over horrible things, I can help you keep a secret about glorious things. I can point you in the direction and looking. Which way have I got to point? This way over here in the comments. Looking over here at the comments, you got a whole community of people that are walking in faith, that are ready to reach out to you if you're ready to reach out to them. You're still teetering about it, man, but you spend a lot of time on Instagram. I can recommend some stuff. Hey Bart, you're not really my flavor, man. You're not really my flavor, man. But could you tell me somebody else, maybe a little more approachable? All right, cool. I'll turn you on to that. I got plenty, man. I got plenty. I can't tell you, man. What used to be a feed full of manners of depravity that you don't even want to think about, bro. Delivered to my inbox on the daily. There it is. Veritable smorgasbord of degeneracy right there. And now, my feed, people like Pastor Mark Driscoll, people like Amy Main, people like Insurrection Barbie, people like Philip Anthony Mitchell. Yes, sir. Yeah, Brother George, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those milquetoast Christians. Yes, sir. Got no room. There you go. Deacon Mark right there. Deacon Mark. You see that? That's what I'm talking about. Taking care of yourselves and taking care of each other. This is what I'm talking about. Deacon Mark is Orthodox. You better not come around with no nonsense. Don't come around Orthodox with no nonsense, man. That's the beauty of it too. And I didn't realize it until I started walking in faith again. The beauty of the width and breadth of this whole thing. We may differ in doctrine. I may differ in my understanding of Christ versus the way that Deacon Mark and the Orthodox look at Christ, or the way one of my Catholic brothers may look at Christ. But if you're carrying the gospel and you are preaching the death, the resurrection, and salvation through grace, not through works, but through grace, then I'll call you a righteous man and I'll stand with you. And further, when it comes to the fight, even if you are outside the faith, and you guys already know, especially you guys who've been my friends. Yeah, I know you did, man. I know you did. Damn it, Mark. I was about to make it through the whole thing without choking up. I'm going to tell y'all something, man. Even my brothers who don't walk in the faith, I'll stand with you, man. I'll stand with you. If you were standing for the West and you were standing for righteousness and you were standing in defense of those that cannot protect themselves, and you were standing in defense of those who seek to advance the goals of Western civilization and the goals of Christendom, I'll stand with you, brother. I'll stand with you. I'm not going to rail on you. I was Ossetru for 30 years, man. I'm not going to seek to find fault. You want to know why? Getting back to that wretchedness. Well, I'm going to judge you. I'm not going to judge you as a sinner. Don't make me confront your sin. So all of us out here who are all sinners, who are all broken, who are all wretched, who are all falling short of the grace of God, can pull ourselves together, step up to the boss man and say, forgive me. Forgive me in the name of your son. Let the Spirit work through me. Let the Spirit speak through me. Get rooted in that humility. Enemy doesn't know nothing about humility or gratitude. He got his ass booted. He got his ass booted in the first place for being a little ingrate son of a bitch. God ain't nothing. How'd that work out for you, Lou? How's that working out? But that's one of the things that I'm finding out, man. The longer that I'm in this, and you hit me like early on, it's like this is a whole community of people, man, that are not anything like what you think. And I'm gonna call out right before I wrap this thing up. I'm gonna call out a group of people, and you know the ones that I'm talking about. Well, my experience with Christianity is liar. Liar. I'm not talking about the ones who legit got jacked up behind some Catholic priest playing Little Lord Fondle Boys. I'm not talking about that. There's plenty enough legit out there right now. But what I see 10 times that amount of are people that profess about things that never happen. Well, I don't like Christianity because when I was a kid, what you got touched? Oh my goodness, let me pray for you. Oh no, I didn't like get torched, but like my mom like made me go to church, and it was like awful because they were just like they were so judgmental, and it was, bro, miss me with that, miss me with that. In the same sense that people that talk noise about the current regime generally don't understand it, in the same sense that people talk a lot of noise about egregious breaches of the Constitution that have never read the Constitution, you got a legion, and I chose that word very specifically because they are many. Deacon Mark, you like what I did there? All right. There is a legion out there of people who have never read scripture, who are categorically misinformed on what it is to be Christian and how legit Christians act towards each other. That was a course correction that I had to find out the hard way, because for 30 years, even though I wouldn't go out of my way to disrespect Christianity, I still stood up for the sanctity of those that followed Christ the whole time I was in Ossetru. But I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. Everything that I knew about Christianity at that moment was because I'd been raised in the church, and I was still looking back at things. And keep in mind, there were a lot of misconceptions that I was fed even being raised in the church. Which is why I'm adamant about saying my walk is not with the building, my walk is with the carpenter. Y'all tracking? Point is this. We ain't what you think. We ain't what you think. Because what you think of, that negative stereotype that you have in your head about what a Christian is, this group of Christians that I'm running with got no room for any of that. No room. You don't know until you know. Some of you out there are searching. Some of y'all out there that are looking at things, and things that are going on in the world right now don't make any sense in any other context. You wouldn't even, 5 years ago, look at where I was. Deacon Mark, hip him on this. When you met me, Deacon Mark, would I have been the guy that would have even thought that I'd be finding my way back to the cross? Because I was dead certain of my beliefs. I was dead certain where I stood in the world. There ain't a whole lot of people out there right now that have any kind of certainty remotely approximating that. The world doesn't make any sense at all, and particularly through the conventional lenses. Everything looks like it's going crazy. Everything looks like it's completely chaotic and out of control. And all the people who are steeped in the scripture, all the people who are walking with Christ are looking at the world situation right now and going, yep, I called it. If you want a chance at that frame of reference of understanding, hit one of us up, man. Hit one of us up. Because the Nazarene drugged me out of the darkness. And my dumb ass is looking to go back in. Not because I want the darkness, but because I want to drag you out. Some of y'all been in some darkness so long that you're not going to hear it from anybody else. Some milquetoast Christian pastor gonna speak to you when you've been through X, when X involved depravity or potentially homicide or severe violence or criminality, or you're not gonna hear it. I'll hear it. I'll hear it, man. Hit me up. I may not be the one. I may not be the one that's got, because I don't have any. I don't have, there's nothing in me. I'm a vessel, bro. I'm a vessel. But I promise you, I will do my best to steer you in the right direction. I may not even like you, but I'll do my best to steer you in the right direction, because that is the calling. And every day and every week, I feel a little bit stronger in that calling. I tell you, man, I got up this morning, went up the road here to Livingstone's church, and boy, Mr. Grant was on fire, man. He was on fire. Back half, Revelation chapter 20, dude was on fire, and we both in tears. I'm holding down the amen corner in the front row, brother. I see that level of being vibrant, that level of being filled with the Spirit, that level of needing to carry the message to people, to give them some news. It doesn't have to be like this. You don't have to be perpetually confused and boggled at all the chaos of the world and why, this so down and depressed and nothing in the future but darkness. That is where they want you. Stone, live the 3, right? They will try to bury you with the darkness. Try to bury you with the darkness. They'll try to bury you with the noise. Christ is the signal. Christ is the light. It doesn't have to be like this. The only thing that he asks is for your heart. I'm a selfish son of a bitch. I'm going to ask for more than that. I ask for you to give your heart to the carpenter. But just as an aside, I ask for you to put your ass under some iron. Because we're in a fight, y'all. We're in a fight. So maybe I am a little selfish, but even that is coming from the thing that I want you to be prepared. I see so many people out there, man. So many people who are beautiful spirits, who have the best of intentions, who are golden individuals, and they just don't know because nobody told them. Or worse, somebody specifically lied to them because they had a vested agenda, a vested interest in keeping these people perpetually afraid of phantoms and specters of nothing. There is a way forward. There is a truth, there is a light, and there is a strength and a peace that you can't even begin to contemplate. And if I can do anything to get you there, brother, I'm down, because that's the mission. Omnia ad regnum, all things for the kingdom. And the kingdom has come. It is our moment. Stand strong, unapologetic, and unequivocal. King of kings, Lord of lords, every knee shall bow and every tongue confess. That is my belief. Your mileage may vary. I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to close with a prayer and I'm going to let y'all get up out of here. I appreciate you being patient with me, man. Patient with me. Lord God, here we are again, another week, another glorious week that you have given me to live your will, speak your word, and to be a vessel for your will and your word here in this world. Lord God, if there are people out there that are searching, whatever I can do to bring them home. I was pulled out of the darkness with a mission, and that mission is to go back in and pull more people out. And I see that clock ticking, and I see things winding down. I look at things that everybody else is panicking about and freaking and losing their mind, and I can't help but laugh. I can't help but laugh. Can't help but laugh. That anyone could walk around in that much fear. But I don't judge them for that fear, Lord. I don't judge them for it. Plenty of people planting those seeds, and I understand that most people are not up to the challenge. They just need to have the scales pulled from their eyes. Let anything that I do or say for these people help to pull the scales from their eyes. Let me touch those hearts. Let me reach those souls. Let me bring your children home, Lord. Send me into that valley of dry bones and let me raise you an army. I am here for it. I am here for it. Lord God, let me always feel that fire. Let me feel that fire inside and the warmth of that light, the light of your truth. Let me bring it to anybody with the heart and our eyes to see and the ears to hear. Let me carry it, Lord. It is the least I can do for all that you have carried from me. I pray in the name of the risen Christ, whom I ever serve, whose blood bought my redemption. And I am washed in that blood. I am redeemed. That debt is paid. And it is on me to carry it forward. In the name of the risen Christ, whom I ever serve. Amen. Whew. I love y'all. Ooh, love y'all so much, man. Better cookies. I just now saw that. Yeah. You guys are amazing. What is that, Stone? It's the greatest commandment of the law. New commandment I give unto you, that you love one another just as I have loved you. And that you also are to love one another. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just arrested development. Adolescents who balk at anyone who tells them no, that's bad for you, right? Because of course we know better, right? We always know better. Everybody knows better, right? I knew better. What'd that get me? For you guys that might be watching this who ain't bothered to call in about a year or get in touch or approach me, I understand why. I get it. I get it. I'm not that callous. I pray for you too. I pray for you too. Whoever needed to hear that heard it. Anyway, guys, you see down at the bottom. If you guys want to, I appreciate y'all being here. If you guys want to throw something my way, that would be cool. But I'm working right now, so if you can't, I get that too. That's totally all right. Still out here in Nevada doing my thing, laying that precast, running the crane, doing this stuff. Gonna close like we always do, a little bit of clutch. Absolute best version of the song Fortunate Son ever done. You are free to disagree with that, but you would be wrong. Free will. It can be tough for you sometimes. In any case, here's what you can do, man. If you want to throw me something, that would be cool. I'm available in all the payment methods. You see it down here at the bottom. If you can't, I get it. It's cool. Here's what you can do. Share it. Share the replay with somebody. Turn them onto the program. Say, hey, man, just a fat, toothless cripple, crane operator with some opinions. He likes to rant and rave for a couple hours every Sunday, man. Maybe you'll dig it. Like-minded and kindred spirit. That's what we're looking for here, man. But here's what you can do. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other is another thing you do. But above and beyond anything, you can do this for me. Stone, what's the hashtag, brother? Stone, what's the hashtag? Greg, I didn't even see you, man. I'm glad you made it out. God bless you, man. When I get up off this gig, I got to make it out, man. I got to make it out to the coast. I got to see you, brother. I got to see you. In any case, y'all, here's what you can do. Not from me, but for yourselves. Hashtag, baby. Live the three. Live the three. Live the three. What are you talking about? Live the three. What is this weirdo cult thing you got going on? You know what the three are, man. The three are the three prime directives. And here on Planet Bart, we try to live by those prime directives. Now, it may not work for everybody the way that it has worked for me, but it's just a little admonition. Something I'm giving you. I'm trying to help you out, trying to steer you on that path. Rule number one, signal to noise. The signal to noise ratio is all jacked up right now, man. The noise is this. It's the distractions. It's the fog. It's the fear. It's the lies. You have got to be the signal. And that signal is truth. You got to be the signal that punches through the noise to get to the other side and reach people. You got to be the light in a world full of darkness. They will smother you with the darkness. They will bury you in the darkness, make you think nothing exists but the darkness. They will emasculate you, demoralize you, dehumanize you with the darkness. You got to be the light. And I'm talking about that light that shines through the fog to the other side. And sometimes you got to carry that light and punch it straight through to the other side so they can see it. Those people who are wishing and wondering on the far side of the fog that are lost and can't find their way home. But above all, brings us to the third rule, the iron rule. And that rule is strength in a world full of weakness. And I'm not talking just about this kind of strength. This is important, but it's got to be here. It's got to be here. Definitely needed here these days. Why strength? Because without strength, none of the rest of it matters. Don't you understand? It is the most basic thing in the world. Without strength, none of the rest of it matters. If you don't have strength, you will not be able to punch the signal, no matter how much truth is in it. If you don't have the strength to punch that signal through the noise, it's for nothing. If you don't have strength, you're not going to be able to, you won't have the endurance to hold that light over the time it takes to walk through the darkness to the other side, nor will you have the punch to get it through the fog so that other people can see it. So strength above everything. Hate to get all Bruce Lee movie on you, but who knows what beauty has died out of the world for want of the strength to survive. Strength, guys, and when you pray, strength, clarity, and discernment. Because no matter how strong you are, the adversary and the deceiver, the father of lies, is always out there trying to work his game. You got to have the discernment and clarity to get through that treachery and get through the lies, find out what really counts and what really matters. And right now, you guys matter. Boss Man's got the plan. Carpenter's got your back. I love every one of you guys. God bless you. God bless each and every one of you. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We'll see you next Sunday, man. God bless. Love y'all.